My son is a professional aerial performer and is currently performing in this large and popular horror-themed circus where we live. I know I may be biased, but in my opinion, he's outstanding, and it's just amazing to watch him perform. Maybe a little scary sometimes, and I worry about him with some of the tricks and acts he does. My wife, however, will just tell people he works in the circus. She never mentions that he's an aerial performer and that he works independently with a huge and popular circus, just that he works in the circus. Whenever we're out and she sees a clown, she will point at it and say, "Look, it's son's name." And it's very clear she looks down on him for what he does. She assumes he makes next to nothing and is poor. I know he's not. He doesn't make a crazy amount, but he makes enough to support himself well. This all came to a head when we were with some of her friends, and one of them asked if our son could entertain her kids at a birthday party, promising to pay him generously since he must be struggling. My wife laughed and responded with, "I'll see if he's free." I butted in saying, "He probably won't be able to, since the birthday falls on a day when the popular circus, which is where he works as a headline aerial act, is fully booked because it's so close to the new year." Almost everyone there was shocked, since all this info was new to them. My wife looked angry and left. She sat in the car and texted me that she wanted to leave. I stayed for about 20 minutes, answering questions and showing them some videos. The woman who asked apologized, saying my wife gave her the impression that our son was a struggling and failing cheap circus performer and wanted to help him. When I finally left and got in the car, my wife yelled at me, saying that I made her look like an idiot and a horrible mother in front of her friends. When we got home, she stormed out of the car and locked herself in our bedroom, crying loudly. She's been like this for almost an hour now, and I'm starting to feel awful and like an idiot. I could have just left it alone. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your wife, though? Oh boy. Your wife made your son look awful, and by extension, herself an idiot. It's time to have a come to Jesus moment. You need to sit your wife down and demand that she accept your son for who he is and be proud of him. If she does not, she will lose him and strain the relationship between the two of you. Personally, if my wife acted that way toward my son, I would leave her. Even if your son was a struggling performer, putting him down to her friends is just not cool. And very nice of your friend who apologized. She was trying to do something nice, given the knowledge she had. Your son has an awesome profession that very few people in the world ever master. You have a right to be proud. Your wife is either embarrassed or jealous. It doesn't matter which. You did nothing wrong and do not apologize to her. Maybe she's been throwing pity parties, getting all kinds of sympathy and attention from her friends. I can hear it. "Oh, my son is in such a bad way. Where did I go wrong?" And then she gets all the validation that she's an excellent mom, and surely it's not her fault. Bonus points if she's been placing the blame for her son's supposed failure on OP. Bonus points if she's been getting donations from her friends to help out the young man and keep them for herself, or has been mooching dinners off them. The friend who wants to overpay a clown for a kid's birthday could indicate something of the sort. OP needs to have a serious talk with his wife. I don't know what culture OP and wife are in, but some people want their kids to stick to traditional gender roles or occupations. It seems the son was doing dance or gymnastics when normally boys do non-girly sports. I've met many people that no matter how good they are at something, if they're of the wrong gender, there are people who refuse to accept it. A little backstory. I, 24 male, met my SO, 23 female, 3 years ago. I never wanted kids, so we always used protection, but I guess stuff happens, and she ended up giving birth 6 months ago. I told her when she got pregnant that I wouldn't be waking up to do anything with the baby at night because I work. If I had to tune into waking up every time he cried, I'd never get any sleep. So she's been good with being the one waking up at night. Recently, I got laid off for the winter, and now that I'm home, she's acting like I should be waking up at night to help her. I don't think that's fair because I'll end up with the same problem I stated above, waking up when he cries. When I go back to work, I can't afford to lose sleep. Now to the incident at hand. My son was being particularly fussy at night a few nights ago. I ended up waking up while she was getting his chair. I guess it seemed he'd be up for a while. When she got up, she put him in the bed, so I scooted closer and cuddled him a bit. It almost looked like he might fall asleep. A few minutes go by, and he starts fussing like crazy. I look around the room and my girlfriend is nowhere to be seen. Now, I'll admit I did get angry. I was tired, and it made me mad that she just left like that. Sometimes when I get overly frustrated, I lash out myself. This is where I think I might be an idiot. I hit myself in the face a few times and said something I probably shouldn't. Girlfriend came storming back upstairs with the baby monitor in her hand, saying she heard and saw the whole thing and that it was unbelievable. I spat at her that she wouldn't know what it's like to need sleep when you work, because she's never worked hard a day in her life. She's never worked as hard as I do at my current job, but we did work 2 other places together before she got pregnant. But she hasn't worked in a little over a year, so I think what I said was warranted. Anyway, she said she's not even sure she wants to be with me anymore and has been giving me the silent treatment for 3 days, even though I said I was sorry. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. So she doesn't know what it's like to work hard, even though she just gave birth and has cared for a baby every night single-handedly. And you, the hardworking one, haven't helped her because you need your solid, unbroken 8 hours of sleep so you can go to work the next day, 7 days a week. And now that you're laid off, you still can't help at night because you'll eventually be going back to work again someday. Jesus Christ, you're probably the biggest idiot I've seen. First, most parents work and then also take care of kids. You aren't a special snowflake who needs sleep. Take care of your baby when he cries. Second, you're laid off. You're not working anymore, and you're still refusing to help? Like, wow. How dare your wife think that her husband should be helping her with a newborn child? God, what an awful woman. Am I right, guys? Your biggest concern is that you will become attuned to your child's cries, that you just can't ignore them? Wow. Super idiot. I hope she divorces you. As far as I can tell, she's already raising a fatherless child, but at least she might be able to get a stepfather in the mix in the future. Also, saying sorry for not taking care of your child for 6 months doesn't cut it. We got married a couple of months ago, but I didn't realize mother-in-law was upset until recently. My mother-in-law has always strongly disliked me, so we weren't really sure about inviting her to the wedding because she's been MIA for about a year. But ultimately, it was important to my husband, so we invited her. It was a destination wedding, and we were all staying at the same hotel. My mom overheard mother-in-law throwing a fit because I guess she refused to pack her clothes, and her boyfriend packed her an inappropriate dress. So my mom let me know just as a heads up, because who knows what she will show up in. We were at a large hotel with many stores, and I was shopping with my bridesmaids at the time and saw mother-in-law go into one of the stores, so we just decided to go in and look around. She was whining that her boyfriend packed her a club dress and complaining that he packed her the wrong clothes for that night and they couldn't go out to dinner because the outfit he picked didn't match. She was throwing a bit of a tantrum in the store, which is very much out of character, and she was still refusing to pick out her own dress. Finally, her boyfriend picked something super pale blue and revealing, and she did say no, but it still made me nervous. So I just hung back with my girls and kept an eye on her. Mother-in-law asked if I was watching her, and I said no, just shopping. He finally picked out something appropriate, and when she went to try it on, mother-in-law's boyfriend came over and told me I needed to step back and get away from her. I said I was just shopping. We were looking at stuff, not just staring at her. She came out and glared at us the entire time he paid, and then he was annoyed and said that they were going to go and cheer her up. On the day of the wedding, she was fine. She wore the appropriate dress. She didn't greet me or congratulate us at all, but that was just her, and then I hadn't seen her since the wedding. We did invite her to Christmas just out of obligation. I guess I didn't really think she would come, but mother-in-law said no and said she would never step foot in our house because of how I treated her that day and because we were staring at her. She said she tried to do the right thing and not wear the totally inappropriate dress he packed, and we were laughing at her. And the only reason he packed for her was that she really wanted to go. She pretty much told my husband to screw off and said she's never making an effort again, though I wouldn't consider that an effort. You are the idiot. Why were you watching your mother-in-law pick out a dress? Mother-in-law was shrieking because her boyfriend packed the wrong dress, and you kept messing with her rather than being there for her. You and your friends ogled her at an emotional time. Y'all could have helped out, but you just stared and made her more uncomfortable. Her refusing to come to entertain you any longer is obvious. See it from her shoes. Not the idiot. The whole situation is bizarre. She refused to pack her own bag and pick out her own dress, but got mad at her boyfriend because she didn't like these choices. She sounds nuts, and maybe y'all are better off without that. But what would you have done if you hadn't approved of the dress she ended up with? Would you have stepped in and asked her to buy another one? So what was the point of snooping on her, beyond just watching the spectacle? Not that I blame you. I'd probably have done the same thing, LOL. Everyone's the idiot here. You say that she doesn't like you, but you don't seem to have any real grounds to think she would buy a dress that's not appropriate for your wedding. Do you often make assumptions or expect the worst in people? Could this be why she doesn't like you? Mother-in-law is the idiot for not acknowledging her son on his wedding day and choosing to effectively stay out of his life just because of an incident with you. I, female 19, came home last week from Los Angeles to New York City. It was a fully booked flight that my parents booked for me in advance. I was in business class, specifically a suite, which had a privacy screen and was bigger as it took up 2 seats as one. It was a night flight and 5.5 hours long, so I was hoping to get some sleep. I get anxious on planes, so I was glad I didn't have to sit next to anyone. About 20 minutes after I boarded, a flight attendant approached me with a woman and a service dog behind her and asked if I would switch seats with her. Apparently, someone in the row in front has a dog that was disturbing others due to her service dog. I was a little hesitant, as there were only a few other suites, but asked where she was sitting. Unfortunately, she was sitting in the economy, which potentially I could have handled, but was in the very back row, which sounded like a nightmare. I would have to sit next to 2 people, be right next to the bathroom so no sleep, and near a dog that could be disturbing. Also, no aisle, which makes me feel trapped. My parents paid for business and extra for this specific seat, not economy. I declined and said no because of the last reason. She tried to offer me a coupon of the price difference to use on another flight, but it expired at the end of 2022, and I had no intentions of flying during this time and didn't want to waste my parents' money if it was never used. The lady spoke up and said my seat would be great because it was bigger and could fit her service dog, Labrador, who was too big for her previous seat, and I quote, "I usually get upgraded, and people are kind enough to say yes and swap places without having an incentive." This annoyed me as it came off entitled, in my opinion, and I told her it wasn't my responsibility or fault that she didn't buy a seat that could accommodate her service dog. I told the flight attendant I was happy with my seat, and as they left, the woman said, "I'm glad I raised my child right," to the flight attendant and sent me a death stare. The man across from me spoke up and said I did the right thing, but then went on and said something I perceived as ableist. So now I'm doubting the whole situation. My parents thought I handled the situation well and thought the lady was wrong with the last comment and told me that they never would have used the flight coupon as they have no plans to travel and don't typically fly with that airline. Regardless of if I did swap or not, none of us would have been uncomfortable, but in this situation, it would have cost my parents money as well. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. If she usually gets upgraded, maybe she should start buying a seat that actually works for her. It sounds like she's found a great way to game the system if she pays economy and always flies business. She needs to book a seat appropriate for her dog. Yeah, I mean, the old lady knows that she needs extra space to accommodate her dog. She should have booked appropriate seats for it. This is what bothered me the most about this. I know I want different accommodations, but I can game the system on the premise of my disability. Why should I pay more When I can guilt someone into providing accommodations I would prefer. OP, you are not the idiot. You handled yourself with grace and respect. As a frequent traveler, I can confidently say that you did the right thing. The nerve of the flight attendant to even approach you with that level of a downgrade is appalling. It's not your responsibility to sacrifice your business class seat for an economy seat for anyone. Full stop. This was not your problem to solve, and frankly, I would complain via Twitter to the airline about your treatment from the flight attendant. I find it suspicious that the flight attendant only went to OP as she's a young girl flying by herself, so the flight attendant didn't go to the older man next to her. They were trying to target her because of her age, and I would complain on Twitter. OP, don't let the ableist supporter trouble you. Your motivations weren't ableist. Backstory: I'm a nanny, and I work 50 hours a week taking care of 2 boys. Last year, I moved in with the family I work for. I have not had any real downtime and no vacation for the last 2 years. In 2 weeks, they're going away to visit family for the holidays, so they granted me 2 weeks of paid vacation. I told my mother this, and she immediately called my sister to let her know I would not be working and told her I would take care of my nephews. I did not know she told her this. My sister called to confirm when she could drop the kids off because she has to work and doesn't want to pay for daycare. I told her no, I never agreed to watch my nephews. I love them dearly, but I don't know when I'll get another vacation. My whole family expected me to be available since I was off work. I really need some downtime, as this job has burnt me out. I did feel guilty after saying no, and did think I was being a bit of a jerk for turning my sister away. I was called mean by my family. There was a family text after I told my sister no, and it went like this: "Brother, man, just do it since it's your job anyway. Sister needs a break too. Don't be so mean. You know what you're doing. Sometimes you just have to do it for family." Me: I charge $50 an hour if you need my help during vacation. Sister: you only charge your nanny $25 an hour. Why do I have to pay more than them if we're family? Me: it's my vacation, so it's double my going rate. Would you watch them for free? Both brother and sister: heck no. Me: so why should I? Not the idiot at all. Your mom and sister are both very entitled. How is that a vacation or time off if you're doing the same thing as your job? Take some time to yourself and relax. Call the sister right back and tell her your mom will watch the kids, and volunteer your mom to mow the lawn at the local church. That is some serious bull. You don't deserve a vacation, and your sister gets free childcare? What? I would be honest and say that this is your first time off in a while. You need the time mentally and to take a break from watching kids. Tell your mom that just because you have time off, does that give her the right to say that you'll watch your nephews? The fact that she didn't ask you at all and just assumed. I would not tell them when you have time off in the future again. Update: I no longer feel bad after reading everyone's responses. My mother and sister have done this to me many times before. My sister used to show up at my house and drop off my nephews at the door and leave. Then she would come back on Sunday night to pick them up. My mother would always tell my sister it's okay because my nephews love being with me and I can take better care of them. They don't consider me being a nanny a real career because they say I have too much fun, so it can't be work. For those who said I should keep things from my mother, you are right. I will not tell any family members if I have time off work.